I want to talk a lot about the memo, but when I was looking through, what was the first product that you created and went through this process of innovating, iteration, and bringing it to the market?
So the first one actually that I launched was Time Smiles. I have one over here. So
Okay,
that's
yeah, I
the
saw
so
that.
the idea is that you have this clock and it has two dots on it that tell the time. So the smaller dot does the minutes, and then the larger dot does the hours. And the dots are basically the eyes. And then you have this mouth that rotates as well with the smaller dot, creating like this very dynamic, ever-changing smiley face that sits on your desk. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's really weird, like if the mouth is upside down, you can barely recognize the smile anymore. But then after a while, it will
Oh, it
start
comes
slowly
in.
smiling to you again.
So the optimal smiling face looks like, what would that be?
So the default face that clocks are usually put on when they are in a store is like 10 minutes past 10, right? So
Uh-huh.
that's kind of this type of
Ah,
look.
yeah,
So then it's
right.
relatively
10
well
minutes
smiling.
past.
So it was a fun idea.
And what was next after the smiling clock?
The next thing actually is that I, with a friend of mine, started developing. I think you have a couple of these as well.
Oh, I
The
do, the bike
the
lights.
solar
Yeah.
bike lights.
Hmm. So the clock
Like
you
that.
made, that was your own invention. And then the
Exactly.
second
Yeah.
one was helping your friend. And then what came
Yeah.
after the bike light?
This was the point where I thought, well, maybe I should make something that can help people attach the AirTag to their bikes, because there was none available at the time. The idea behind it, I thought it will be a good publicity thing, basically, to jump on this wave of attention that there was at the time for the AirTag
Right.
coming out. But then actually, the first day I got over €1,000 worth of pre-orders for it. I
Oh,
put it up online.
uh-huh.
A couple of Apple blogs started picking it up, and I was like, okay, so probably I'm actually going to produce quite a few of these.
Yeah.
So I think that was the moment where I really saw that if you have the right idea combined with the right
Hmm.
need that people have, suddenly people were lining up to buy it from me for a relatively good price. And I was like, okay, this could be a business, right? This was the
Yeah.
first time I actually thought, okay, product development not only costs money, but it could be a thing that could work.
And did you
Um,
have trouble meeting the demand that showed up so quickly once you put it out there?
Definitely. I made a promise to deliver those within 30 days.
Yeah.
And when I make a promise, I really want to be able to
Hmm.
fulfill that, right? It was crazy amount of stress because people just kept ordering them. And then from
Oh,
every order, I had these 30 days that I promised to
oh,
fulfill that order.
yeah.
It's this little piece of rubber with the New Things Lab logo inside.
Hmm. Hmm.
It does the grippiness of the thing so that it doesn't slide off your bike.
Hmm.
These parts I was making, I was producing actually the boxes. I was making them myself
Hmm.
with these pieces of rubber. So all these little parts that
Yeah.
needed to come together. Um, at some point, we were sitting at the family table with my grandfather, who unfortunately is not among us anymore, but he was helping us creating all the packaging for it, putting
It was a
stickers,
family
labeling
affair.
them. Yes,
Was the memo next?
the memo was next. Yes, yes,
Okay, let's talk about the memo and
let's do it.
how what was the genesis or the little tickle you felt in your creative mind that first started you thinking about the memo?
Yeah, so I've always been a fan of pen and paper, or actually, I say pen and paper, but I must actually say whiteboards. I do really love whiteboards because they're tangible, right? A bit like a pen and paper would be, but it's not definitive like actually
Yes.
a pen and paper would also be. Where I thought, okay, I need some type of portable whiteboard. Actually, it would be so great if I could take this wherever I went.
The
It's simple.
portable whiteboard as an idea it's helpful to see where that came from. Another way of describing the mission or the vision of New Things Lab, core principles: slow down, create happiness, make it simple. Where did those things start becoming really important to you?
If you look at if you look at what we offer currently, there's a relative simplicity to all of these, I would say,
Yeah.
um, and this comes from probably myself and from my inner urge to do things right. So I think among designers there's two types. There's the ones that really enjoy creating a solution for a super specific problem. So there's a lot of people in our studies, mainly we have this trajectory called design for interaction. They focus, for instance, on one person that is, for instance, visually impaired. It could be,
Hmm.
and they're following them for 2, 3, 4 days, trying to pinpoint all their pain points and trying to see how they can make life as good as possible for this particular person. So there's a big depth to that type
Hmm.
of design, I would say. And then there's the type of designers, myself included, that do something different, which is try to create minor moments of relative pleasure during the day for a large group of people. So
That's great. Minor moments of relative pleasure throughout the day for lots of people.
yes, I think that's kind of the way I see it, and both are really valuable trajectories of design, I would say.
Yeah.
And I found myself being part of that second group that doesn't have the depth of the impact, perhaps, but
Hmm.
does have the scale that could
Yeah.
be there.
It's kind of wide versus deep.
Yeah, yeah, I
Hmm.
think so.
Oh, you've got a picture of you juggling the clocks on your website. Do you really know how to juggle?
It's a very good question, and you might have caught me there. It's one of those moments where my creative vision surpassed my actual skills, I think. Uh, I went out with my sister to take that photo, and I juggled the lower two, but the top one is Photoshop.
Oh, that's great. It's a virtual juggling. That's
Exactly.
genius.
Yeah.
Well, it convinced me. It looked very juggling.
Yeah.
Um,
Very good.
this is good background. You know, I spent the podcast is pretty dormant now in terms of covering the Kindle and Amazon, but I still I did spend 15 years, and I get to talk to Jeff Bezos twice and a lot of the team members on the Kindle team. So I have the experience of having seen the first Kindle in 2007, which was this
That's great.
crazy awkward thing. To restart it, you had to get a paperclip and figure out how to get it into a hole to restart the original Kindle. And how would you compare the design and the creation, the innovation of the Kindle with some of the things that you've experienced at New Things Lab and just how you look at it as a designer?
Yeah. So that's interesting. I actually bought a Kindle, I think 2 years ago. So I have this small one.
The basic one.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
the really small one. I always carry it in my backpack because I really like how it's so small that you just don't notice it. You can take it anywhere.
Right.
And I have like this Delft design guide on it, which I try to reference a lot if I'm giving a workshop or something like that.
Hmm.
I use idea, so I think have it here, or I have one of the early versions. This is version 5 already, but it's like a 3D printed version of Memo.
Hmm. Right.
Um, I made this in early 2020, so this goes a long way back.
Yeah.
And to keep motivated and to keep really involved in a project like this that nobody tells you to do, just coming from your own mind, basically,
Hmm.
it requires a sense of purpose that you create yourself, I guess.
Otherwise, you just give up on it.
Yeah, it's super easy to give up. And I think that I can speak for us both that we're both quite curious people. And
Hmm.
we have a certain weakness, I would say, that if you go on YouTube and find a video of how a World War II plane design is meant to function and meant to work, and there's this endless stream of super interesting things that could come
Right.
your way. And behind every notification is this kind of a story that you might want to focus your attention to, or maybe not.
Right.
Of course, I'm bringing a lot of new products in the world, and you could say there's possibly a negative impact to that with in terms of sustainability and these kind of things. But this is what really keeps me from thinking I'm on the right mission. That hopefully I
Mhm.
can help other people get this clarity of mind as well. That's really
Yeah.
what
Yeah,
I'm
that's
trying to
brilliant.
accomplish.
I've had the same feeling. I've been using the Remarkable tablet for,
Yeah.
now I use the Scribe because I like that. And I had that same sense that when I really needed to think about something, usually I'm not very good with numbers, and anytime I had to, budget something, I would pick that up as opposed to my computer or an iPad or even paper and pencil. And I kind of trained myself that when I picked up that thing,
Yeah.
I was entering a mode of sort of left, right, whatever it is. The analytical brain
Yeah.
was privileged in that when I used that particular tool, and it seemed to be kind of reinforcing that way it became a habit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it sounds like you've captured some of that same sense with the memo that when it's a defined space, it isn't permanent, and when you're preparing for a meeting or something, when you pick it up, your mind has sort of been trained to act a
Exactly.
certain
Yeah.
way when you have it in your hands.
Yeah. I strongly believe that that can be true. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Interesting. I want to praise your shipping department because when I ordered mine, I mistakenly had it sent to my home up in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And somewhere there was a number and it said, I don't think that's a number in the US. And I called it to say, could you change the shipping address? And someone answered right away, and it was you. And
Yes.
you were able to ship it to Florida instead. So, are you going to be hiring so that you're not handling all the change of address requests that come from people in Florida, or how will that work?
Well, that's a good question, actually. And I've been thinking about doing that. But on the other hand, I really love the moments that I can spend talking to customers, actually.
Yeah.
And when the phone rings, I really appreciate it. Generally, I'm not at a skill yet that it's ringing constantly. Like
Uh-huh.
I would get 1 or 2 calls a week, actually,
Yeah.
in that sense, because not a lot of times things are really going wrong, and most of things are emails. So for emails, I'm thinking of perhaps doing some customer service representative
Hmm.
in the near future. But actually, for calls, I'm really I'm going to keep putting my number there for quite a while until it gets really out of hand. Because actually, the interactions that we had, for instance, it's really
Yeah.
cool because I would drop a quick question like, "Hey, what do you intend to use it for?" and would
Hmm.
get some valuable feedback to see, yeah, to probably improve the product from then on. So it's actually quite nice. I like it.
Yeah. Well, it's been really fun, and it's been fun talking with you. I've been speaking with Nyckle Sijtsma, founder of New Things Lab. Thanks very much, Nyckle.
Thanks so much, Len, for having me.